Being a beginning gardener can be super overwhelming. I know, and I understand because I've been there. So stick with me because today we're talking 3 really important things you need to know before you start buying up a bunch of seeds. Hey friends, I'm Adrienne. I've been gardening since 2015 in a really hard climate here in Central Oregon. So I've figured out some really important things you need to know, especially for short growing seasons. I also have some tips on how to find out more information about your gardening area. Buying seeds can be especially overwhelming for a beginner gardener. There are just so many options to choose from. What we talk about today will help narrow down those options to seeds and plants that will actually have a better chance of working for you and your garden. Your growing zone tells you the average low temperatures in your area. The growing zone is most imperative to things like perennial plants, things that come back every year, and trees. In order to have the most success, you need to be sure you're buying plants and seeds that will withstand your area's low temperatures. When you're finding your growing zone, it is important to know that it is just a place to start. It's not always super accurate because each area is kind of different. There's things called microclimates, and I'm personally in a cooler microclimate than what the USDA growing zone map says. But it's a great place to start getting information. Something that people mistake the growing zone information for is that it will tell you how long your growing season is and when your first and last frosts are. However, like I said, it's just a really good place to start to gather more information. Tell me in the comments below if you're a new gardener or if you've been gardening for a long time. I'd love to know. So I want to tell you how you can find your growing zone. And we're going to hop on the computer here and I'm going to show you how. So what we're going to do first is we're going to Google for the USDA Hardiness Zone Map. And we're going to click the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone Map that comes up in the Google search. So you can get a general idea by looking at this map by finding your area. So for me, I'm about here. And why I said it was an estimation is because it's a little bit incorrect for Central Oregon. Central Oregon is a little bit colder. I have seen it get to negative 15 degrees here myself. I live in the high desert, so the temperatures can be pretty variable. I like to go on the low end of the hardiness because I want to try and be more successful. So when I buy plants or perennial seeds, I make sure and buy seeds and plants that could withstand temperatures down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So you see on the right, it has the color coding. This gives us the key to what average low temperatures each growing zone has. You can enter your zip code for something a little more accurate. It will tell you right off what zone you are supposed to be in. Like I said, this is not super accurate for me. You can also view a better map of just your state. So that's pretty neat. You can always open the image in a new tab, and you can save these too. You can save it by right-clicking and save image as and save it to your computer. This will help you get a little bit closer to your zone. Like here it says mine is the lighter green, so 6B, but that is just not accurate. For me. You'll often see on seed packets and plant tags and even bulb tags an approximate time to plant according to your zone. This is why it's important to know how accurate your growing zone is. For me, it often says to plant in May for my growing zone. However, my last frost date actually is in mid-June. So if I were to plant things prior to that, they would freeze and die. The next really important thing you need to know about your garden is how long your growing season is. And you find this out by figuring out how many days are in between your last frost and your first frost. To find out your first and last frost, let's hop on the computer and I'll show you how. Now that we're on the computer, we're going to type in last frost date and we'll just use zip code. A decently trusted resource is the Old Farmer's Almanac, so we will click that one to get an approximate date. I don't live actually in Madras, but it's the closest town, and it says that the last spring frost is May 27th, which is not true for my house specifically. It's actually mid-June. This says the first fall frost is September 27th, which also is a little bit off, but Madras is actually a little bit warmer than we are here at my house. And that's how you can find your approximate length of your growing season. Now, it's better to know and record for yourself what your first and last frost dates are in your very own yard, because that is a microclimate and that's going to be a little bit different for everybody except for maybe your direct neighbors. There are so many variables that go into a microclimate. For example, at my house, there are not a lot of buildings. Like, I don't live in the neighborhood, I live in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of trees, so there's a lot of wind, and I have a little bit harder time than, say, people in town, because houses are heat sinks. So it's warm around your house where the sun hits it because the sun reflects off of it, and various things like that. So it's important to keep in mind and attempt to track your very own first and last frost dates so you can be more accurate when you are purchasing your seeds. So knowing the length of your growing season will considerably narrow down the options of seeds you can purchase to successfully grow in your area. Which brings us back to buying seeds. When you purchase seeds, you need to do a little bit of research on the length of time it takes for the plant to mature. And this is called days to harvest or days to maturity. So while the internet said my growing season is 122 days, it's not entirely accurate because I found my personal first and last frost dates, and it's actually 87 days. So when I purchase seeds, I actually need to do research to make sure that the plant can mature in the length of the time my growing season is. A lot of seed packets will have this information on them. Some companies are better at providing this information than others. One of my favorite companies, which I feel does a really good job at providing the days to harvest on their vegetables, is Botanical Interest. They typically have it on the front here, and I'm going to provide a link below if you're interested in checking them out. Do know that this is an estimation. There are so many variables that go into a plant's success. So you really want to make sure you are buying seeds or plants that have a days to maturity or days to harvest that is a little bit shorter than the length of your growing season. This ensures that you actually have a better chance of getting a harvest from your plants before the hard frosts roll in and kill them off. And finally, I wanted to give you a couple bonus tips. As a beginner gardener, it can be so hard to know where to look for good information. So I want to encourage you to search, for example, on Facebook for gardening groups that are in your local area. If you can't find any for your local area, make one yourself. People love gardening and sharing their successes and failures, and it can be so helpful into the success of your own garden. You might also look into seeing if there is a gardening club in your area. Additionally, a lot of people don't know that your local county extension office is an invaluable resource to learning how to grow in your area. They're going to know all kinds of things and have all kinds of resources for you to learn from, and they'll be able to answer a ton of questions. If you have a bunch of seeds that you need to organize and store, be sure to check out this video where I talk about how I store and organize my seeds. If you want to learn more about gardening and other homestead related stuff, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss out on anything.